So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our practice day. Aging, illness, four elements, as Ajahn Nyaniko introduced. So, the schedule for today, which is posted, is we'll have a start with this guided meditation this morning for a little while and take a break and then come back for some more sitting practice. And I thought I'd just do a few little brief short readings on some descriptions of aging and illness to get our minds in and around that topic as a reflection. So, but let's first just do a few minutes worth of just settling down, coming into the present moment. A lot of people probably had a long drive up this morning and still on the freeway maybe a little bit. So just take a few minutes to come fully to Abhayagiri and let your mental body catch up with your physical body sitting here in this space. So find a comfortable posture and just take a deep breath if you need to and quietly exhale, full breath, allowing your mind and body to settle and relax and let go of the morning before now, the trip up, gathering together of supplies and different kinds of things. That's all in the past now, and you're right here, just sitting and settle into your body. Allowing your attention to just gently sweep through from the top of the head, down through the face, shoulders and arms, chest, back and abdomen. Sit bones on the mat or the chair, bench. Sensing the tactile sensations in that part of the body, the belly. Opening up the abdomen a little bit to relax it. And feeling the thighs and the knees, and the lower legs and the feet. So feel the weight of the body and the solidity, the groundedness, the earth element. And while still staying grounded with that sense of density and solidity and groundedness, also open up to, at the same time, a little more light and spacious, the space element of the open spaces in the body that one can imagine inside the skull, as if you were just a skeleton, inside the space in the skull or inside the jaw, the mouth, the nostrils. Those are open space. There's a lightness to that quality. The throat, the spaciousness, the spaces inside the abdominal cavity and the lungs. Any place in the body where there's just openness and you can feel a sense of lightness. The air element, the in and out breathing, the rhythmic quality of air passing through the nostrils and the throat and into the lungs, the belly expanding and relaxing with each breath. And the energy that courses through the body because of this breathing process. Very rhythmic, in and out, expansion, contraction. So all these three components can be experienced at the same time: ground, space, and rhythm. So, as Ajahn Nyaniko introduced the topic, it's a good contemplation to help bring ourselves to a realistic experience, realistic vision of this human body. We often spend a lot of time trying to avoid the inevitable aspects of having a body that's subject to illness and subject to aging. And as we talked about a couple months ago here, the death experience. And there's oftentimes some apprehension, if not outright fear, when we experience illness and then the effects of aging as well. And of course, with aging comes more opportunity to experience illness. So as we go along in years, we start to notice various bits and pieces breaking down or going into states of temporary or permanent disrepair. And if we haven't contemplated this, then we find ourselves caught up short in responding with anxiety, fear, and just level of unclarity, basically dukkha, suffering. So the Buddha strongly advises us to start reflecting on that now. Maybe some of us are in the midst of illnesses and or aging process. Others are a little bit earlier on the conveyor belt. But now's the time to do it because we don't know when illness will strike. And if we can get a realistic picture of it, this is actually a key to freedom. It's not meant to be any kind of downer to cause us to suffer by looking at the truth. Then we're not controlled by our fears and our anxieties. And we can't avoid aging, we can't avoid illness, but we don't have to respond with that second arrow of suffering. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And of course, the ultimate goal in these contemplations is to realize the transiency of this body and also the basic uncontrollability. This body has a trajectory of its own. We don't have often all that much control over what affects it and the various changes and the illnesses, maladies. And if we can see that and see that deeply, then the sense of ownership, the sense of self-identity, particularly with the body, starts to fade away. Then the body does what it does, but we don't take refuge in that. That's not where we keep our attention focused. We can know these processes as they happen and not get affected by them in a negative way, but use them for insight into who we're not. But to do that, we have to kind of first own up to the reality. We have to see it for what it is. We can't avoid it. We can't look away, pretend it's not there. So the Buddha suggests that we really contemplate the ways that this body can fall ill and the ways that the body ages, and to start to accept that reality and see it with grace and maybe even a little bit of lightness. So lots of things that can go wrong with the body. It's actually a miracle that we're all sitting here today, relatively, I'll say, healthy, because I don't know what anybody might be dealing with, because there's so many things that can go wrong with the human body. One of the teachings from the Buddha is a teaching to a monk called Girimananda. It's in the Girimananda Sutta, which is in the Anguttara Tens, number 60. And Girimananda is falling ill, and the Buddha instructs Ananda to give Girimananda 10 subjects to recollect, to contemplate, 10 themes to contemplate. And perhaps Girimananda's illness would fade, at least at this point in time, with these 10 contemplations. So one of them, which is just a brief listing of just a few of the many things that can go wrong with this body, the Buddha has called the perception of danger. So there's many perceptions to give to Girimananda, including impermanence and not self and unattractiveness and dispassion, cessation, etc. But one of them is called the perception of danger. And what, Ananda, is the perception of danger? Here, having gone to the forest, to the foot of a tree, or to an empty hut. A bhikkhu reflects thus: this body is the source of much pain and danger, for all sorts of afflictions arise in this body. That is, eye disease, disease of the inner ear, nose disease, tongue disease, body disease, head disease, disease of the external ear, mouth disease, tooth disease, cough, asthma, mucus, fever, stomachache, fainting, dysentery, flu, cholera, leprosy, boils, eczema, tuberculosis, epilepsy, ringworm, itch, scab, chickenpox, scabies, hemorrhage, diabetes, hemorrhoids, cancer, fistula. Illnesses originating from bile, phlegm, wind, or their combination. Illnesses produced by change of climate. Illnesses produced by careless behavior. Illnesses produced by assault, or illnesses produced as the result of kamma. And cold, heat, hunger, thirst, defecation, and urination. Thus he dwells contemplating danger in the body. This is called the perception of danger. Another passage on aging. This one from the Majjhima Nikaya, number 13, the Greater Discourse on the Mass of Suffering. And here the Buddha talks about the aging process in relation to a common formula of looking at the gratification, danger, and escape. It's the way he uses as a paradigm to analyze our experience with the world, particularly around the sense bases and also the khandhas. And what, bhikkhus, is the gratification in the case of material form? Suppose there were a girl of the noble class, or the Brahmin class, or of a householder stock, in her 15th or 16th year, neither too tall nor too short, neither too thin nor too fat, neither too dark nor too fair. Is her beauty and loveliness then at its height? Yes, Venerable Sir. Now the pleasure and joy that arises in dependence on that beauty and loveliness are the gratification in the case of material form. And what, bhikkhus, is the danger in the case of material form? Later on, one might see that same woman here at 80, 90, or 100 years, aged, as crooked as a roof bracket, doubled up, supported by a walking stick, tottering, frail, her youth gone, her teeth broken, gray-haired, scanty-haired, bald, wrinkled, with limbs all blotchy. What do you think, bhikkhus? Has her former beauty and loveliness vanished and the danger become evident? Yes, Venerable Sir, bhikkhus, this is the danger in the case of material form. Again, one might see that same woman afflicted, suffering, and gravely ill, lying fouled in her own urine and excrement, lifted up by some and set down by others. What do you think, bhikkhus? Has her former beauty and loveliness vanished and the danger become evident? Yes, Venerable Sir. Bhikkhus, this too is a danger in the case of material form. Again, one might see that same woman as a corpse, thrown aside in a charnel ground, 1, 2, 3 days dead, bloated, livid, and oozing matter. What do you think, bhikkhus? Has her former beauty and loveliness vanished and the danger become evident? Yes, Venerable Sir. Bhikkhus, this too is a danger in the case of material form. Again, one might see that same woman as a corpse thrown aside in a charnel ground, being devoured by crows, hawks, vultures, dogs, jackals, or various kinds of worms. A skeleton with flesh and blood, held together with sinews. A fleshless skeleton smeared with blood, held together with sinews. A skeleton without flesh and blood, held together with sinews. Disconnected bones scattered in all directions. Here a hand bone, there a foot bone, here a thigh bone, there a rib bone, here a hip bone, there a backbone, here the skull. Bones bleached white, the colors of shells, bones heaped up, bones more than a year old, rotted and crumbled to dust. What do you think, bhikkhus? Has her former beauty and loveliness vanished, and the danger become evident? Yes, Venerable Sir. Bhikkhus, this too is a danger in the case of material form. And what, bhikkhus, is the escape in the case of material form? It is the removal of desire and lust, the abandonment of desire and lust for material form. This is the escape in the case of material form. So again, taking up these contemplations, these images, as a way of helping to decrease the sense of control and attachment and the illusion to our bodies, and then the illusion is going to be otherwise, that we have control, or that we should have control, and that we can use it as a place of refuge. So we're looking to abandon that way of relating to this body by looking at how it can get sick and age and then eventually pass away. So one way that you can contemplate this and maybe give it a try for the next bit of time, for the rest of this period on your own, is to scan through the body from the top of the head all the way down to the bottom of the feet. And just contemplate as you slowly scan down through the exterior and the interior. What are some possible illnesses? Maybe some you've already had, maybe some that you won't ever have, but maybe you will. So scanning through what can affect the brain, tumors, and through the mouth, and the various dental problems that we have, or the deterioration of the eyes, cataracts, different kinds of diseases of the eye and the face, the skin, the aging of the skin as we experience it now or as we will experience it, and on through the body, the throat and the chest, all the inner organs, all the problems that can arise with the heart and the lungs, the intestines, liver, all these organs that are in the body, and all the way down through the weakness of the limbs, the gradual loss of energy and vitality, with the notion of keeping in mind, asking yourself, is this who I really am? If it were, then I would be able to have some control over this, but inevitably I don't. So use that as an act of reflection as you contemplate from the top of the head down to the tips of the feet, and allow yourself to understand the true nature of this body.